Okay, my dear, welcome, Diletta.
Thank
One
you,
of
Jill.
one of my favorite people in the entire world is joining us from Italy. I know, I just love you. You're such a ray of sunshine.
I love you too.
Oh, thank you. So, thank you for coming on to give us a little update about Italy. Of course, we want to talk about the market, but the thing that everybody wants to know is how are you doing? How are things? With the virus. Can you give us a little perspective?
As I was telling you before, there is a very big difference between North and Central and Southern Italy because the numbers are very high up in the north, in the Milan and Lakes area, and less in Rome. So I manage all the offices, so I hear them all. But I live in Rome, and in Rome, we must say we don't have so many. The curve has always been not as high as in the north, so we feel a little bit more safe than our colleagues in the north, and we still don't know if they will open the country simultaneously. This is something that we will see.
So, did Rome lock down early in the process, or why do you think there are
Yeah.
less cases? Okay.
Oh, the thing is that that is one of the big question marks. Why did it hit the north so much? I mean, one of the reasons is that the first COVID contractor was someone who was in Germany who got it from a Chinese. So it started over there and it spread it very quickly, maybe because people travel a lot in northern Italy because they commute a lot.
Right.
And commercially, there is a lot going on in the north. We don't know why, but we suppose it's because of that. Yeah.
Okay.
It, and in many cases from the north came down just few days before the lockdown. So some of the people living in the north, they went down to see their parents because they knew they would be locked down, and that was a little bit the bad situation why everything was mixed up. But we all started then the real lockdown together. So it's since March 8th that we are all in lockdown.
And you're 100%. Like, do you have to have a notice to go to the grocery store? Are they giving tickets?
We if they ask us where we are going, I mean, if it's walking and they see we did the groceries, they don't need anything. But if we have to go from place A to place B, it has to be for essential reasons. Okay, so yeah,
And what do they consider
and walking
essential?
the dog. But otherwise, essential reasons are only certain things like bringing medicines to people or some of the essential jobs that were allowed to move around. But there were only few, only very few chain. The industrial chain was closed down except for pharmaceutical, medical supply. And so, yes, almost nobody was allowed to travel and
Wow.
to drive.
So I've heard reports that southern Italy, so your Naples, Sicily,
Yes,
have very, very few cases. Is that still true?
yes, it is true. The south has less cases than the north. That's for sure. But we still don't know. Unfortunately, it has hit some of the um, how do you say? The places where old people live.
Mhm.
I think something like this happened also in the U.S.
Yes,
So
nursing homes.
nursing homes, and that is bad. It was spread in the nursing homes also in southern Italy.
Well, the amazing thing about Italy is, Italians, in my opinion, are known for their love and support of one another, right? They love their country, they love their people. And I've loved watching the videos coming out of Italy of people singing on their balconies. And I think one just came out where everybody was toasting their champagne glasses.
Some have criticized it. They said in a time where people are dying, but it's true. I mean, we honor all our losses, but at the same time, I think we have to stay positive because life has to go on,
Right.
and we're helping. I mean, we're most of us are volunteering to bring elderly people food. We're not allowed to go inside the house, but we do the groceries for them and we leave them outside the house because not everybody is internet savvy, especially the elder generation.
Right.
And don't forget, one of the reasons why Italy has a lot of cases is because we have a very old population. We
Right.
are we are the oldest. We have the oldest people in Europe for sure.
Well, and I think about it too is, when we walk down the streets of Italy, regardless where we are, we always see the young and the old arm in arm, right? And I wondered if that was part of the, no, I hate to say problem, but if that was causing more issues because maybe the healthy people or the younger people had it, didn't realize they had it. They're still very close to their grandparents,
Yeah.
So I wondered.
We don't know for sure, but it's something that I always thought,
Yeah.
knowing my countrymen and knowing that the grandparents are such a big part of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. It's one of the things I love about Italy. I like the camaraderie and the love of family that you guys have. So, to that point, talk to me about the offices that you actually manage. What offices do we have in Italy? What do you manage? Are there any upcoming offices that we should know about?
Yes, yes. We have Milan, Lake Garda, Turin, Lake Como, Lake Maggiore, Florence, and Lucca for Tuscany,
Mhm.
and then Rome, and then like a little office in Naples, but it's doing very well. It's a one-man show. She's doing Capri and all of the Naples area in the Amalfi Coast, and we are doing Puglia, which is the heel of Italy,
Okay.
and we are opening soon in Sicily.
Yay.
I'm very proud because we're getting so many inquiries and there are so many properties. And especially during the pandemic, we have seen an increased number for Sicily.
Because they're almost a little far removed, right, from everything?
Maybe because of that, and maybe because some people that want something new. I mean, Tuscany is still number one, but we're seeing that Sicily has the better weather. It has a lot of different styles and very famous chefs opening now. So it's a little bit more a refined kind of buyer that is looking into Sicily.
Interesting. I hear Maratea is nice.
Yes,
I had to put a plug in, didn't I?
Very, very nice.
Yeah,
Still
so
very unknown, but it's
it
nice.
is.
Nice.
I think it's a hidden gem. Driving out there, even getting to Maratea the way that we came in, you wouldn't find it unless you were looking for it, right? There's so
The
many
best
ways.
thing is always to have some like a big film um, being filmed there because it happened with Matera when Mel Gibson did his movie.
Hmm.
So I always think Maratea would need exactly the same thing. I remember people asking me, "Do you have houses where Mel Gibson did his movie?" Or like you remember George Clooney.
Right.
George Clooney launched Como even more than it
Yes.
was already famous for.
Well, and it's funny you say that because when you talk about that area, he is the first person I think of always.
Everybody,
Yeah.
everybody.
Now,
Yeah.
Torino is one of my favorite cities in Italy, which surprises a lot of people because it's not as cosmopolitan as Milano and what have you. But that's always been one of my favorite hidden
Yeah,
little
it's a
cities.
beautiful city.
It is.
Very refined. It had a lot of
Mhm.
French influence.
Oh, well, there you
You see, it's a mixture between Italy and France.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend that did Quagliotti. They did the sheets, the high quality linens, and I went to visit there. And when they were speaking to me, they were speaking in Italian, I thought, and then I would hear French words every now and then. And so I stopped. I said, "What language are you speaking?" And they said they had their own little morph of English, or excuse me, of French and Italian. So,
That's true.
and you have the hillside, and then you have the lakes or the rivers. It's beautiful. So, in Italy, where do you find that most people are interested in purchasing outside of Italy? So, if Americans or the French or the British, is there a certain area that most people gravitate towards?
You mean the foreigners in Italy or vice
Foreigners coming, foreigners coming to Italy.
versa? So most of our buyers are foreigners. It
Mhm.
always has been like this. I would say of the foreigners, 65% are US buyers.
Wow.
And then we have a lot of English, Swiss, a lot of Dutch and Belgians, and French. Also,
And
because we have a new, the French are rather increasing because of the flat tax we have for the ultra high net worth buyers. So if you are ultra net high worth, you put your residence in Italy and you pay a flat tax, which is very low for these high income people. So it's only
interesting.
100,000 per year. And the French are coming to Italy because we also have very low inheritance taxation, very low, maybe the lowest in Europe. So if you're ultra high net, it's rather convenient to come to live in Italy.
And is there a section of Italy that you see more people go to? Is it Milano? Is it Roma? Is it?
Well, no, the foreigners usually, even if Milan is our big industrial hub and economical hub, but most people that buy in Italy, they buy either second homes in Tuscany or in the other holiday resorts, but many of them in cities like Rome and Florence. Maybe Rome, the really rich ones, they would buy in Rome because it's really iconic. You know, you want to have a house that overlooks the Colosseum, the Forum, that looks one of the famous, like the Pantheon. So usually these people, they want to buy an iconic penthouse, an iconic historical building in Rome.
And so, how are the prices in Rome compared to the rest of Italy? Is that your highest
No,
price point?
I would say at the moment the highest is certain areas in Milano,
Mm, okay.
but more for the average. At the really ultra top end market, maybe Rome is still higher compared to maybe New York, or I would say compared to New York now, it's still not that high because there are
Okay.
less people. So I would say it's like you can compare it to Paris in certain price categories. Yeah,
Is it as expensive as Paris? Because for me, Paris is
Paris is more expensive from the medium onwards. The
okay.
medium in Italy is still not that. It's more affordable. I mean, the services are less expensive. Restaurants are less expensive. I
True.
would say you can compare it only at the top market level.
Okay.
An iconic house in Rome is as expensive as an iconic house in France, but we pay less taxes on these houses.
So then let's talk about the process then for purchasing there. So I find this beautiful flat in Rome and I want to purchase it. What are the steps that I would go through to do that as an
But
American or a foreigner?
yes, yes. So usually there are 3 steps, but you can do it in 2 steps. So the first step is you do an official offer. To do the offer and to make it binding for both sides, you have the buyer has to place the offer and put some money in escrow with the public notary. So it's not a lawyer. It's important in Italy. Only the public notary is the official that is entitled to collect money for the buyer, and can release then to the seller, and he collects also the taxes. So you do the offer. Once the offer has been accepted by the seller, you can either do a preliminary contract or go to the final deed. This depends if there are some urban and housing laws that still need to be verified, and it needs more time to be compliant with all the laws that you need to comply to in order to do the final deed. And it is the public notary that is legally uh, um, he's legally responsible of the title check as well. So we don't have
Oh, interesting.
title insurance. He's legally responsible. So once you have chosen the notary, he will be legally responsible for the deed to be safe and the title to be checked.
So let me ask you there, does the buyer select their own notary or do the sellers, they do? Does
The buyer.
okay, okay,
So usually if a buyer does not know a good notary, he would ask us, and we always send like 3, 4 of the best notaries in the area that he has chosen, but he's the one to choose the notary.
okay. And so are the notary fees high in Italy? I think
They
in,
are a little bit less than what I would say a lawyer fee would be. So
okay,
compared to the lawyer fees, there are less. In Italy, it's buyer and seller who pay the commission.
okay. They
So
split down the middle?
they split in the middle. Yeah. So
Okay,
usually 3% and 3% or 4% and 4%, depending on the areas. All areas are different. The other thing is that is different is that we don't pay the purchase tax on the real
nice.
value price. We paid on the cadastral value. The cadastral value is the value that is given by the state to a property, which usually is 1/10 of the real purchase value. So
Wow.
property taxes are very low in Italy.
That's good to know. So in Texas, that's how our property taxes are determined as well, but we're not 1/10. They're usually about 90%. They're pretty close to value. So a
Yeah,
tenth of the price. That's amazing.
yeah.
So once you've done the offer, and the notary does the title check, is there a period in there that the buyer can change their mind? Or how much money have they put in at this point?
Well, at the offer you put 2 to 5%,
Okay.
and you lose it only if you withdraw as a buyer. But if there is something that is not compliant, then it's the seller who has to pay a penalty fee, and he has to give you back double the deposit.
Really?
Yeah. So if there is something that is not, usually you do the due diligence before, but you have a time to verify that the seller is doing all the things he needs to do to repair in order to sell the property. And if in this time something comes up, both are binded by this contract. But you can withdraw as a seller only if you have not done everything to make the property compliant to the laws and sellable. So if it's not sellable, you can withdraw and say, no, I'm not buying it because there is this and this missing or something like this.
But if the seller says, I don't want to make these repairs, so I'm withdrawing, he has to give you your deposit back times two.
Well, if he's not doing the repairs that are requested by law, and if he's not doing what has been written in the offer, the buyer can say, I will buy this home only if he repairs the swimming pool, and if all the conditions are met, then the buyer has to buy. But if one of the main conditions are not met by the seller, then he can withdraw.
Okay. And now you said there's a three-part. There's the offer, and that's when the due diligence is done. And then you
Yeah.
mentioned in your email to me, or you can skip to the second step.
Yeah. The second step, the preliminary contract, you usually put another 20-30% down payment, and
Okay.
these are kept in escrow. And then at the end, the final deed is done when everything, all the documentation that is needed is available for the notary from the buyer and from the seller. So you can decide if a house has everything compliant immediately, you skip the preliminary offer contract, and you can go
Okay.
from the offer to the final deed.
So the process from the beginning to the end is typically how long?
Well, it can be if you have everything, it can be 1.5 months. If it's a landmark property, then it takes longer, because if it's a landmark property, there is the first right of refusal from the state, and that would take 2 months. I would say in an average with international buyers, we think you need a 3 months to
Okay.
do the whole closure.
And do most international clients purchase with cash, or do they try to find outside funding?
No, most do buy with cash in the high end market.
And
Yeah.
if somebody wanted to do a loan, is that something that you could help them connect? Okay. And I know that in France, some of the loan programs for Americans or for foreigners are 30% down. Would it be similar, do you think?
Oh, yeah, I think I remember 20, but
That would be
20%.
nice. Which
Yeah.
is standard in the US. A standard conventional in the US is 20%. The thing about France is, you do your 30% down and then you pay 10% in notary fees and you're 40% in.
Yeah.
So,
We even had some financing of 50%, but that was like for a 50 million property. And
um,
that was like, give you an idea, in Australia, and he was a really ultra net high, but the bank was so happy to finance him because they knew he's.
that
So
he
it
would do.
depends. It always depends.
So, with everything that's going on, obviously you guys are 100% shut down. So
Yeah,
there's no real estate happening at all.
not at all.
What do you think the market will be? Well, first of all, when do you think the market will open back up? Obviously, Italy's a little unknown, right?
Yeah,
But what are
no,
your best thoughts?
we hope that we could get back to showing soon. Like, let's hope in few weeks, but we don't know. So we cannot predict anything, but it's what we are hearing. I mean, they're putting a lot of pressure because, I mean, real estate is 1/5 of our GDP. So
Wow.
our association is putting a lot of pressure to bring us back because if you do showings with all this precautions and safety measures, there
Mhm.
is no interaction of many people involved, so it could be done in safety. We feel there is a lot of interaction going on even now. I mean, we are working full time because from home because we're getting tons of requests, and especially from foreigners that's saying, "Okay, I want to see this house. As soon as we get to travel again, we will come and see it," and they're preparing. We hope that with the Italians, this will be sooner because the big question mark is when do the borders open again? I mean,
Right,
global.
right. Well, so do you feel like, oh, I hate to ask you this, but do you feel like there will be deals to be had? Do you think that there will be a drop in prices when the market opens back up?
Oh, there will be for sure, but we don't think it will be like a big. I don't think it will be that you can buy something for 30% less or something. We don't know. Uh, Maybe some people that need the cash are willing to go down, but Italians, our when we have crisis, it goes always down very slowly. It doesn't go up and down as in other countries, where you recover quicker and but it goes down quickly. In Italy, it's always very, very slow.
Interesting.
It's we have more than 80% of Italians are homeowners. Okay, so in Italy, people don't invest in so much in stocks, but in real estate. So for them to give away real estate, usually they own more than two or three properties. So we nobody dares to do any predictions
Of
because
course.
something so everybody's like the U-shaped curve, the V-shaped curve. Is it going to be? We don't know, but we just think that it will take some time. Our market is a lot medium to top, so we hope that you know as soon as the borders open again, that we will be back to normal real estate life.
So is real estate in Italy a pretty consistent growth? Does it have ebbs and flows, or is it? I live in a market that's an emerging market, as you would, right? So our real estate has just done this, and it's still doing this even with COVID. How is the real estate in Italy? Is it more
It's
streamlined?
yeah, it's a very stable market. So the only one that went up like this was Milano.
Mm.
We'll see how long this is going to last. But our crisis was not in 2008. Our crisis started in 2010, 2011, and it took 4 years to reach the lowest peak, which was in 2015. And
Mhm.
then it started recovering, but very, very, very slowly. And prices, maybe the second home market went down, but first homes, they went down maybe like 5%, not more.
Well, and it's nice that it's a steady increase and a steady decrease because you're not, sitting on a ton of value one moment and then you're, facing foreclosure or you're about to lose your home the next, right? Because the value's gone.
Yeah, it has up and it has pros and cons because people sit longer on their property. So there
Right.
isn't so much exchange, there isn't so much inventory. And when inventory comes, we have another problem. Italians don't like to stage
Mm,
because they
I
say,
know
well,
this.
I buy it, and I know you know it firsthand. People say,
Firsthand.
I buy it, I will do it the way I want, and there is no way that I'm going. They just don't get it. But now, slowly, since the world is more global and people, we have so many foreigners because of technology that they work from Italy, as
Right.
we were saying. You don't have to, in some sectors, you don't have to be in the place where your office is. And these people, they expect to find turnkey properties or at least to see them nicely done. So we are pushing a lot for the staging as well, but it takes time, to
It
convert.
does. Is it difficult? Let's say you're someone who just loves to remodel homes, right? I have a friend who actually moved to France and now she's considering Italy, who worked on a home show here in the US, Fixer Upper, which is real popular. And so she wants to go in and she wants to remodel something. Is that difficult to do in Italy? Is it hard to find the tradespeople to do that?
No, remodeling is very easy because we have a lot of, from handcraft to technique. The problem is not the remodeling. People love to remodel, and it's also easy. The thing is, they don't want to spend money on properties they're selling. That's the
Right.
hardest part.
Right. But if you were to find one for your own home, it would be easy to remodel. If it's something you wanted to buy and stay in because
Yes,
you like projects.
yeah. No, no, that's
So,
we're pushing a lot on that. So, and
right.
investing also. So
Well, and we see all of these things on Facebook. This city will let you buy a house for $1 if you'll remodel it. Do you get do you get a lot of inquiries about that?
yeah, that was like, there was like maybe a year ago on the Financial Times and everywhere, they were saying that if you buy a property in Sicily in one of the hamlets and you remodel it, then you don't pay taxes for 10 years and they will sell it for you, because there is so much to remodel in Italy. I mean, most properties need, I mean, they're historical. We don't have
Right.
as many new buildings as you have.
Right.
Very conservative in this. So
Well, the
remote,
difference in the age.
what?
I said
Yeah,
it's the difference in the age. We haven't been here that long, as a country compared to.
I'm selling a property in Rome that is built on a 2,000-year-old theater. So it's a
Oh my
2,000.
gosh,
Yeah, I mean it's on a Roman theater. It's like
that's
the
amazing.
the Teatro Marcello, and
Yeah.
three of the richest men in the U.S. came to see it because it's really iconic to say I live in a 2,000-year-old property.
Well, and it's something, that we don't have here. And that's why, I'm a huge history buff. You know this about me. I love history. Going to Pompeii was amazing for me. But I watched something about Naples recently where somebody was remodeling their home and they hit the floor. And the next thing they know, an entire city was below them that they did not know existed, which I think is fascinating.
We have that very often. I
Yeah.
have I have a client who's he's Dutch. His wife is from New York. They bought in Rome a very, very important building, and I told him, I said, John, don't dig. And he said, no, I will take, I will take. And then, we had the ministry come because they found Roman ruins beneath it. And, you cannot just dig in Rome.
So what happens if they find ruins? Do they try to come in and buy the property, or do they just take the property?
No, they will come, check what kind of ruins. And then if it's like the most important ruin that there is, they might close it, and you have to um, either give what is inside to the state or have people walk and come and see your property, but you don't want
Wow,
it. So usually what they do is they close it again, and if they're fresco, they're allowed to keep them. But it's a very complicated process. So
that's interesting.
yeah,
I would love that. I would be in heaven if I found out there were
they
ruins.
are in heaven. They
Yeah, I
are.
would
They
love
are
that.
proud of what they have.
Oh, the history. But I'm allergic to Rome, so apparently I'll never own a place there.
Oh,
Twice I've broken out in just full on hives when I've gone. So
but do you know why?
I don't. So the first time I went was Palm Sunday, and I was a little concerned that it was the palms that caused it. So then I started having this like, right. So then I was like, oh God, the palms are causing an issue. But when we were there in January, I noticed the same thing. But I noticed you guys have these little flies. They look like fruit flies. Do you know what I'm talking about?
But the
And
mosquito.
I think that's it. What maybe your mosquitoes look completely different than mine, than what we're used to. But I think that's where it was coming from. So I just made sure to eat inside, and you know,
Even in January, nah, I never heard that. Poor
I
Jill.
know.
Give
But
it a third chance. Give
right.
it a third
I'll
chance.
just stick to Venice. Venice is great. I never have problems
I
in
love
Venice.
Venice. Yeah, Venice is great. Yeah.
The big white church that's there, every time I go, I've been to Venice 3 times now. And I'm like, I'm going to go to that church next time. Like, I won't let myself go because I feel like once I do, then I don't have any reason to
And
go
have no
back.
reason to go back.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, if I wanted to buy, so do you think I should go in June, perhaps when the market opens up, or should I wait for things to calm down a little bit?
If it's possible to travel in June, you're
Well,
very
that's true.
lucky.
As soon as I'm able to travel, would I be better to try to purchase something immediately, or do you think it's better to wait?
I don't know. I think it would be great to be the first to come. It
I'm good.
depends how people feel. I mean, if people feel that this is going to be a long crisis, then it's better to be there before. If
Right.
it's very difficult to predict.
I feel like a lot of, or a good bit of my friends are having the same thoughts and feelings I am. Of this has really shown us how quickly life can change, and there are things that we want to do, and so we don't want to postpone that. So I'll be interested to see what the influx is for you, because I have so many friends who have said, "Oh, I want to buy a house in Italy," "Oh, I want to buy a house in France," and
I
they're
told
doing.
you we're getting so many requests now that we
Mhm.
feel that especially because it's a lot of back to the quality of life, like healthy
Yes,
food and like this.
yes.
And we're getting a lot of inquiries for rural places again.
Mhm.
So I think people want to have an orchard, or they want to have their fruit in their garden. So that's why maybe they're also going to Sicily, because we've never had so many inquiries from. I mean, French people are buying a lot in Sicily. It's like the big new trendy place.
Mhm.
But we're getting a lot of inquiries from the US for Sicily for the first time. So that's going to be very interesting.
Well, it's interesting. We have a running joke in our family that I am Farmer Jill, because I was like, okay, so when we buy our place in France, it'll be rural. I'm getting chickens and cows, and they just laugh. They're like, yeah, sure, mom, sure you are, sure, honey.
Who knows?
I know. Of course, I may come down to Torino, and that way I can get my French and my Italy together.
And you get good truffles.
Get my lavazza. I could get
Yes.
my lavazza fresh, because that and Illy are all the coffee that I drink. So I do love the coffee. All right, my dear. So that's enough about work. Let's talk about you in Italy from the fun side.
Okay.
I know you have a house in Rome or an apartment in Rome. Yes. And then where else do you have a place?
I have a place in the countryside in Tuscany, and I have a place in southern Italy, which is my mother-in-law's, and it's an old 17th century farmhouse in Puglia, next to the sea. That
I've
is the
seen
one
the
that's
photos. Those are the sunset photos you always post. Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. So
And I travel
Italian.
a lot. So, as I have all the offices around Italy, I travel a lot. And this is the first time that I have not been traveling for 5 weeks.
Right.
Almost 6. Yeah.
Yeah, it's your new normal. So if I'm in Rome, where
Yeah.
do I go? I actually know the answer to this because I asked you this last time I was there. But for those who are watching, if I'm visiting Rome, where do I go for the best pasta? Because we're Americans and we love pasta. And where do we go that's not a tourist location? Where's your hidden gem?
I have so many. Now they change because since I'm locked down, I'm going back to my favorite place that used to be on the Tiber. It's a boat. There is a restaurant, and they do delicious food, no tourists. And while
Nice.
you sip your glass of wine, you have the race rowing competitions on the Tiber, and you can see, you don't hear the traffic noise because you're down next to the river. So
Right.
it's like being in the countryside in the midst of Rome. And another place that I really, really love, and I'm already all my girlfriends and friends, we are saying this is going to be our first night out, is the rooftop of the Borromini Hotel, which has 360 views over the entire city center.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. And so do you have a favorite park that you can get away to get away from everyone?
Yes, I live close to the Villa Borghese Park, which is the
Mhm.
city center park, and is the place where I jog every morning. I used to jog. Hopefully, I'm going to jog there soon again. And it's the park that I walk through every day when I have to go to work.
And I think that's near where I stayed last time because you recommended that area. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And so the
Faggiolo.
best
It's a residential area, but you're very
mhm.
close to the city center.
And so the best place for a good cup of Italian, truly Italian coffee would be where?
It's this Caffè Sant'Eustachio next to the Piazza Navona.
Mm.
And there is another one next to the Pantheon, and there is another one next to my house. Yeah, there are many places that I love for very good coffee.
It's
And
hard to find bad
I
coffee.
miss, I miss during my travel, and I travel a lot. I'm 4 times a year in the US, and I'm in Asia, and I'm in Europe. The only thing I always miss is my coffee.
Yeah. You guys have the best coffee.
It's the Italian coffee. I know most people don't, not everybody likes espresso, but yes.
Well, even the Lavazza. I mean, when my local store started carrying Lavazza, it was like, the clouds opened and sang to me. I was very, very happy, because it's a good enough coffee that I don't have to have creamer. I could just drink it. It's got a nice taste. So, well, it was lovely speaking with you. I'm glad I got to see you. I'm glad that
Thank
you're
you.
well.
Yes, we are all well. Thank God. All our agents are well, and that's very important for us.
Well, hopefully you'll be back open for business again soon. I will be over there as soon as I
We
can.
hope in May. We hope in May. Let's see when you will be able to come. Let's
My
hope
husband already knows. Yeah, we've already had the discussion. The minute I'm allowed to travel,
you're
and
coming
I'll
to
be
you.
I'm coming to Europe, of course. I have to. So, all right, my dear. Well, thank you for everything. Thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you, Jill. And
And
I
I'll
hope
still,
to see you very soon in Italy.
you will. Bye, love.
Bye-bye. Bye.